$97 premium.
There we are. How's everyone doing today out there in Final Cut TV and Radio Land? Let me see something here. Let me get something straightened out. Gonna change my window layout a little bit. Let me do that. Let me do that. That looks good. All right. Hey, so another Saturday, another Final Cut TV and Coffee. And we are our first question. What's up? Update really coming? Well, of course it's coming. It's coming. There's too many bugs that have been reported that they can't ignore. And now the question is, they've gone as short as 2 weeks and as long as 3 months for a bug fix. So I'm just saying it's coming. I got a feeling it's coming sooner rather than later. That's just my feeling. I don't think they're going to wait 3 months to fix these bugs. I think, let me see, where was that one about the black frames? Is that where it was? Let me see here. The one about the black frames being imported with certain... Well, let's just go over here. There was one about the black frames on import. Oh, that's interesting. This is one of the interesting things that happens when I worked at the National Archives. I'll show you that in a minute. Our friend Daniel, hello from Montreal, Quebec, also now a proud member on Buy Me a Coffee. Absolutely, Daniel. I appreciate all the support over there. That's where I get a little bit of financial support when I go places and think, let me just find this one bug specifically. Where is that bug? Let me see here. I will pull it up. Oh, here it is right here. Initially, I had said that you can't ignore a bug that big, okay? That big, that's a big bug. Black frames, you can't use the footage. So you have to get a bug fix out as quickly as possible. The question I had was this: what are they going to name it? Since they jumped from 11.0 to 11.1 in 5 months, they went from 11.0 to 11.1 in 5 months. Are they going to go 11.1.1, which is what I figure they're going to do for the bug fix? I'm waiting for a native motion blur for Final Cut Pro. Tell me more about that, Alexander. You're waiting for a native motion blur for Final Cut Pro. I don't use motion blur that much. Tell me about that. So some things have motion blur. You mean just an effect that's called motion blur? They have other blurs, right? They have the Gaussian blur and some other blurs as effects. You're waiting for a motion blur for Final Cut Pro? You have to let me know more about what's going on with that you wanted. So anyway, Larry Jordan said this one codec is importing black frames, which makes your footage unusable. Well, you can't ignore something like that. They can't just say, oh, we'll get to it when we get to it. That's a pretty big bug. I've heard about other bugs as well. I have a bug that has been hitting me with 11.1. It may be with 11.01 as well, where the undo doesn't work. Apple Z doesn't work. I'll be doing something in the timeline, I'll add something, and I don't want it. Apple Z, nothing. Apple Z, nothing. Apple Z, nothing. Maybe that's my Mac OS. Maybe that's my Mac Mini. And I'm on the latest version of Sequoia right now. They had what is it? What am I on? 15.4. Oh, 15.4. I haven't updated to 15.4.1. So I'm gonna think that they jumped to 11.1 from 11.0. So the bug fix is going to be 11.1.1. Not .01, like I initially thought. There's no reason for that, because they're not going to get 9 bug fixes between now and when they bring out 11.2, which is probably going to be in November. Let's check on those cats. Hold on a sec. Let me see. I got the camera set up in the cat room. They're doing their normal cat thing. They're doing their normal cat thing, which is just snoozing. This is the front room of the house we have for them. That's the normal. What else do we got going on there? Oh, we got the backyard. Of course, the backyard's right here. It's cloudy today. It's very, very cloudy. So, but it is springtime. You can see the leaves, flowers are coming on these trees. Over here, the white one is a dogwood, and then the one right behind it in the red is a Japanese red maple. Those are both gathering leaves and gathering flowers, getting ready to bloom for the spring. So that's what's going on outside. So let's talk more about this. Tim asked me not to tell 15. 15 what? You mean Final Cut Pro 15? I don't think so. I think we're on 11. I think we're going to see 11.1.1 as a bug fixed. Who in the heck knows? Now, originally I thought 11.1.01, but the more I think about it, since they jumped to 11.1, full number update, there's no reason to go to 0.1. There's no reason to go to 0.1. They're not going to have that many updates between now and November, when they probably are going to have the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit, which will be probably Final Cut Pro 11.2, I imagine. Hello from Richmond, Virginia, not too far from here. Burke, thanks for tuning in today. No blur to use in movement. No, I understand that. I'm just saying, how would you apply it? As an effect from the effects panel? I understand what you're saying, motion blur, but how would you apply it? Do you want all the plugins to have motion blur that have motion? Is that what you're saying? I understand it's for movement. Tim asked me not to tell macOS 15.5 crashed the Finder in the developer's beta. Yeah, well, I don't do Mac OS betas that much. I don't even know if I would do a Final Cut Pro beta specifically. I certainly would not give up my ability to talk about Final Cut Pro by signing an NDA with, if I was on the beta team. Could I get on the beta team? Probably. Then I couldn't talk about it. I couldn't talk about Final Cut Pro. I couldn't come on these shows on Saturdays. I couldn't really have Final Cut Pro Radio. I got to do a new Final Cut Pro Radio. I got to put one out. Once again, I understand you're saying it's motion, but how would you apply it? Would it be in the different plugins would have motion blur, or would it be a standard in effect? Exactly, Dylan Bates, that's what I'm saying. So you want a motion blur effect in the effects panel, or do you want it in the inspector? You can choose an option somewhere. You have to add an effect typically for that. So as I said, Larry Jordan reported on black frames. I'm experiencing Apple Command Z is not working a lot of times. I can do Command Z and nothing happens. If I added a clip to the timeline, for example, an audio clip, and I said, I don't want that there anymore, and I do Command Z, it just stays there. Or if I delete a clip from the timeline, Command Z does not put it back in my timeline. I'm not sure if that's a Final Cut Pro issue. It could be a Mac OS issue. I've made a motion blur effect in motion, but it's not that great. RSMB is much better. Where I was in compressor beta team, I was under NDA for Blu-ray burning. Daniel, you're not supposed to say if you were under NDA. That's one of the things when you have NDA, you're not supposed to say it. I'm just kidding you. I mean, that's one of the things that you can't say you're under NDA, supposedly. Now, have I been under NDA in the past? Yes, I've been under NDA in the past. I'm not going to say for who, but I've been under NDA more than one time. I worked at the National Archives in Washington, D.C. Okay, you can imagine some of the things I couldn't talk about from down there. I couldn't talk about hardly anything that was whatever. I think Tim Cook also feels jealous Blackmagic team on fire in editing world. Blackmagic is just incredible with their updates. I don't know if, does Tim Cook know what Final Cut Pro is? Does he know that's one of his apps? I don't know if he knows that. Once in a while, maybe he gets reminded. He knows iPhones and he knows how to do, getting things to and from China and stuff, and Vietnam and India. I don't know if he knows what Final Cut Pro is. If he does, he might have forgotten. We might have to remind him what's going on with Final Cut Pro. So we talked about on this show in January that the Final Cut Pro team could be putting out a feature update before NAB. They did exactly that. They put out 11.1 before NAB, which was a feature update. It had 3 or 4 features. They did exactly that at the end of March before NAB. What I'm saying now is I'm expecting 11.2 next November at the Creative Summit. Between now, April, and next November, 6 months, there's probably going to be another feature update thrown in there. What are they going to call that? They're not going to jump to 11.3 or 11. They're not going to jump to 11.2 between now and the Creative Summit. I think 11.2 is probably going to be reserved for the Creative Summit. Exactly, Tyler. I would love Final Cut Pro got this issue resolved when I make a fake movement in still picture, for example. Okay, so yeah, so you just want a motion blur added to the effects panel. Is that what you're saying? A native motion blur added to the effects panel? Well, I'm really surprised that it's not in there. What have I done motion blur? I've done motion blur. Don't they have that in the viewer as a drop down? You can choose what version of motion blur that you want. Right, okay. I'm surprised they don't have motion blur. I'm surprised they don't have motion blur. Our friend from the X platform, iKnowBuddy, says, I haven't experienced a failure to undo, but I have had a failure to redo. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. Failure to redo, not undo. I think you're right. I think it's redo. It's weird that it's Command Z. Is that the right? Yeah, that's the right one, but it doesn't work. It doesn't redo. So that's another, and that's a big issue. Now, is that in the OS or is that in Final Cut Pro? That I don't know. That I do not know. Let me just try something here. All right, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, doing something behind the scenes. I'm just going to do this. I'll do this again. Because, let me see. Oh, there you go. So that's 3. That's 3 of us that have confirmed redo is failing. So it's not undo, it's redo. And we just had myself, our friend iKnowBuddy on the X platform, and Alexander says he has the same thing. Final Cut Pro team. We know you watch this. Somebody from the team watches every Saturday, maybe the interns, I don't know. Fix that. It's absolutely aggravating that redo doesn't work in Final Cut Pro. Now, maybe it's the OS. I don't know. I'm on Sequoia 15 point. I always forget what it is. 15, about this Mac. 15.4, and I think 15.4.1 is out now. In Motion, you can make a drop zone, enable that shutter angle is there, enable what shuttle angle is there, and then you have to hit render motion blur in some top right menu. You can also make the blur better, but RSMB real smart motion blur is better. You're telling me something that I did not know, that that Final Cut Pro doesn't have a good motion blur effect. I did not know that. Right now, all Apple Final Cut Pro users very, very jealous to Resolve 20 update. What do you feel, Chris Roberts? Resolve 20 beta is phenomenal. Resolve 20 beta is absolutely phenomenal. It's an incredible, over 100 features and improvements and stuff. Final Cut's never going to be that way. They used to, prior to version 10.5, up to 10.4, a lot of times when you had a full number update, there'd be 20 or 25 new features and improvements. But since 10.5, we're lucky if we get 4, sometimes 5. Now, I'm not complaining about the amount of features, but some of the things, scrolling timeline took 13 and a half years to get to us. Am I glad it's here? Hands down, yes. Dupe detection took 12 years of Final Cut Pro 10 development to get us dupe detection. Seems like it's a long time for some of these things. Motion blur in Final Cut Pro brings any system to a crawl. Okay, well that's an issue. That's an issue. Audio mix for better collaborative workflow using iCloud maybe, but what could be done using some of Logic Pro functions who are Final Cut Pro friendly, compatible, creating soundtracks, Apple loops. Yeah, they got to do a better job of integrating Logic Pro in Final Cut. I'd love to see a better locked-in way to do that instead of exporting an XML and then going and importing an XML and then opening it up. It's just very clunky and very, very old-fashioned. Look what DaVinci Resolve has done with their apps. They need to have a switch that disables motion blur across all elements in the timeline, but then enables it during export. Or does a proxy version of motion blur? Who the heck knows? The Final Cut Pro team needs to bring AI to motion blur in Motion, and thus Final Cut Pro. There you go. Good point there. That's so I guess the reason they don't have it because it slows everything down. Right, but you have to manually pick through your timeline and disable motion blur when editing, and then you have to remember to turn it on across all elements. Can't you just do a search in the timeline index for motion blur and you click all of them off? Or it's an effect, right? That's what you're saying, it's an effect. Don't some plugins have a version of motion blur in them? I thought there was motion blur. I don't remember. I can't remember. I guess I'm thinking of slow-mo. There's a slow-mo is not motion blur per se. So that's a good feature request, but of course the team does not want it to pull this up here a little closer. The team does not want it to bring the system to a crawl if that's what it does. You might be able to make motion blur a rig and then have the ability to disable it in Inspector and Final Cut Pro. Now you're talking. Now you're talking. So, Tyler, are you a motion guy? You've been on the show before, but I didn't know you were a motion guy. Backyard, looking for birds. Let's see here. It's an option that can be turned on in certain plug-in effects. That's what I thought. There are many adjustment layer effects that apply a motion blur to all elements underneath it. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Now, like I said, I don't use motion blur that much. I think maybe because it slows things down. When I see that option or whatever, I've seen it. I just didn't realize that there's no way to natively add it in Final Cut Pro. Smart audience that we have here has taught me something this morning. I don't use it that much, so I didn't really miss it. And also to the Final Cut Pro team for giving us 11.1 before NAB, as we talked about. We talked about it 60 days ago. 60 days in January, we were talking about a feature update before NAB, and there we got it. It makes things look so much better. It makes it so when I set my shutter speed on a phone, that's where I know about motion blur, right? Your shutter speed affects motion blur when filming. That's what I'm thinking about as well, right? It's the shutter speed. Is it faster shutter speed? Is more motion blur? Or I can't remember which way it goes. So some things I don't care about motion blur. If I'm shooting a talking head, I don't care about motion blur when I'm filming. If I'm doing a sports, fast action, car races, yeah, I want natural motion blur. But that's what I'm talking about a phone and filming shutter parameters in the phone. You're talking about adding it as an effect. Very interesting. So I learned things. I never thought about motion blur. Not from filming, yes, not from Final Cut Pro. So speaking of, let's go over here. I made this little video last week. Avid versus Final Cut versus DaVinci Resolve. I think Avid's a tank. I think Resolve is a big work truck with all kinds of ladders and plumbing and electrical equipment on it. And Final Cut Pro is a sports car. It's fast, fast, fast. Now, the idea is that what one does, they're all good NLEs, but some are suited better than others for different tasks. For example, I like the sports car analogy for Final Cut because it's really fast and it's nimble, but it doesn't have all the tools that DaVinci Resolve has in the work truck. It doesn't have anywhere close to the tools that DaVinci Resolve has, and it can't perform some of the heavy-duty stuff that Avid has, the tank that Avid has. But they're all three good NLEs, aren't they? They're all three. So I use DaVinci Resolve and I use Final Cut Pro. Final Cut Pro first for most things. DaVinci Resolve, text-based editing. Well, Final Cut Pro doesn't have it natively. You can use Lumberjack systems to do it, and they had it probably since 2017. But DaVinci Resolve Studio, which I have, and I just updated to the Beta 20, after I made a copy of 19, has a fantastic text-based editing. They also have CapCut style captions now built into DaVinci Resolve. So these are things that Final Cut maybe is going to bring to us. We'll have to see. Yeah, I got depressed when DaVinci Resolve 20 was launched with all the features and is far ahead of Final Cut Pro, but I got stuck with Final Cut Pro, and for me, it's very difficult to use DaVinci Resolve. So I say this all the time to people. people say, I have a new Facebook page up. It's called DaVinci Resolve for Final Cut Pro editors. And what it is for us editors that need to learn how to do things in DaVinci Resolve, like do a voiceover. How do you do it in DaVinci Resolve? Well, I put up a little tutorial, link to a tutorial about that. How do you do text in DaVinci Resolve? Well, I put up a link for that. How do you do set preferences in DaVinci Resolve? I have a link for that. So people ask, and that's fine. They say, are you switching? No, I'm not switching. I can use 2 NLEs. I use 3 NLEs. I use Final Cut Pro primarily as my first go-to. I don't see that changing. DaVinci Resolve when I need text-based editing. DaVinci Resolve when I need CapCut style titles for right now because it's native. DaVinci Resolve for the sophistication of DaVinci Resolve doing subtitles is much more sophisticated than Final Cut Pro's bare bones transcribe audio to captions, which is very bare bones. Now you can get our friend Philip and Greg, who made it back to Australia. They are in Australia now. With their plugin, you can do a lot, changing the captions to subtitles. And then if you get the BreadFX plugin that's coming out, you can then change those subtitles to any of BreadFX's bouncy text thing. So it's like CapCut. Has the speed editor for DaVinci Resolve actually made the speed of editing as fast as editing in Final Cut Pro for anyone? So when I got the DaVinci Resolve studio license, I bought the speed editor. And I got a copy of the studio license for the same price. It was $299 or $295 for both. Got both. So I had the studio license to DaVinci Resolve and the speed editor. I never used the speed editor. I like keyboard and mouse for me, for editing. I'm used to it. Trackpad sometimes. So I ended up selling the speed editor because I never used it. I didn't use it for like a year. It was brand new. I just ended up selling it to somebody that can use it, but I still have the license. I think Premiere is a more relevant NLE to compare Final Cut and Resolve with than Avid, unless you're in Hollywood or network news, Avid is appearing. I agree with that. And I should put, it's just that people talk about Avid, and Avid's like a tank. It's powerful, but it's old and clunky. That's why I did the comparison. And its power is not in the NLE editor. The power is all the infrastructure that it has, all of the server connections all over Hollywood, that big power that's been established for years and years and years, and it's expensive. Hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars worth. So in order to switch, they got to come up with something different, get away from all that infrastructure. It's not about at the NLE. You're right. I probably should do what kind of a vehicle would you call Premiere? Pickup truck, maybe? Not a work truck like Resolve that has everything, but maybe a pickup truck or something? I could do that. I'm not disagreeing. I think you're right. Burke, I think you're right. Final Cut Pro 11.1 is a problem when I import an SD files generated by Sony 150. It always worked properly before. So 11.0 worked? Okay. Is that what you're saying? 11.0 worked fine? I don't have any Sony cameras anymore. Sony 150, so I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't know. Looking for any birds at the feeder. We got suet out there for them. They're building their nests and stuff, aren't they? Yes, they are. They're building their nests. Everybody's building their nests, the squirrels are. We got a lot of oak trees here, 100-foot oak trees, so everybody's busy. Everybody is busy. I have a 32 key Stream Deck, which I really, really like. I like this a lot better than ones with the dials and stuff. I like a button, I press it, and it does things just like that. With 32 dials, but it also you can do multiple pages. 32 times 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. You can just swipe through pages and get a whole bunch of keys. You can use it I use it for as a launcher for my apps because it's much bigger than my dock on my screen. Now I'm going to be traveling and I'm going to take my 2021 MacBook Pro with me. 10-page limit. Okay, that's good to know. 10-page limit, that's probably accurate. 10-page limit. I think I mostly use this. I have one set up for when I'm streaming live. So this one's set up for Ecamm Live, streaming live. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can do fireworks. I can do applause. Just with the button. I know you can do them in Final Cut in Mac OS with hand gestures, but I can do it with the button. 10-page limit, endless subfolders. So, but this is more than just. You could use it for Final Cut Pro because you can do keyboard shortcuts. You can program keyboard shortcuts in there, so it works. I really, really like this. I have a small one that I'm going to end up selling. I used it for live streaming outside when we used to do concerts. I might do one more concert. We'll have to see how that goes. Oh, I want to talk about something else. So when I stream live, when I do live events, a lot of times I'm behind the camera. I call this behind the camera. And in front of the camera is the people that perhaps I'm interviewing on this side. And maybe I got those backwards. To me, this is the front. To me, that's the front of the camera. This is behind the camera. So when I'm behind the camera, my audio is fine. Number one, even if I don't have a microphone, the iPhone will pick up my audio because I'm so close to it, fine. But anybody that's just say 4 feet away from me, I've always had a little bit of an issue picking them up clearly. So I can wear a DJI Mic 2 with a lapel or whatever I want to do, or I can just talk into the phone. But the person further away is a little more challenging to pick up volume-wise. Talking about volume-wise. So I've tried different things. I've tried my Sennheiser MKE 600 plugged into a DJI Mic 2 transmitter, and that works pretty well. The Sennheiser MKE 600 or even the MKE 400 on my rig. It works pretty darn well. But the volume, no matter what I tried, I've tried adjusting the volumes to match them up. My volume was always louder than the MKE 600 or the MKE 400. Now, the MKE 600, where that shines is in a studio environment. When you have a mixing board with good preamps and stuff, or if you're out in the field and you got a Zoom audio interface and you plug it in, you have proper preamps and stuff. I'm not doing that with the phone when I'm filming with the phone. It's just taking the Sennheiser mic, doing an XLR to 1/8 inch jack and plugging it into the DJI transmitter. Now, the quality is fine. The quality is really good. I like the MKE 600 for when I go in front of the camera and talk to somebody on camera, because I can go back and forth and hold it back and forth, and it works really, really well. So, but if I just have it on my monopod and point it toward the person, it's always about 20% lower in volume than my DJI Mic 2. I can fix that in post if I'm going to take the video to post. But if I'm doing a live stream, the front person's always lower in volume than me. That's not really that much of an issue, but it's just something that I like to get that front-facing microphone louder so it matches up in volume with mine. Let's put some of these comments up here. I'm ignoring them. I use one for streaming church service. Haven't used my home stream deck yet. So my eyesight as I get older is getting weaker and weaker. So these are computer glasses. Things are sometimes a little small, and I got to hunt for things on my, well, let me show you. Here's another live demo. This is my screen. This is my screen. Look at my dock. Look how many things I have in my dock. Now, I make them go up and down like this, but I still have a lot of things on my dock, right? This is what I look at every week. I have program monitor, preview monitor, program, preview program monitor. I have your comments coming in over here. On the left-hand side, you can see them coming in, and I can add them. Let me just add one so you can see it. Limited desktop space, absolutely. So this is my screen, but look at my dock. I guess that's what I wanted to show you. I can put all the apps, 64 apps on one of the screens on my Stream Deck, and I can look at the button and just press it. It's much bigger buttons and much more. It's physical. I don't have to use my mouse. I can just press the button. So that's one of the pages that I have. I don't have that for Ecamm Live because I mostly have streaming stuff up. I can go to the backyard. I can pull up the beginning graphic. I can do a screen with different things. This is all done with my Stream Deck. Physical buttons. I love physical buttons. On Apple Mac, if you move subscriptions model, am I right? Only Final Cut Pro and DaVinci Resolve exist as options available to us. If you remove subscription models, I'm not sure what you mean there. If on Apple Mac, if you remove subscription models, am I right? You only Final Cut Pro and DaVinci Resolve exist as options available to us. I'm not sure what that means. I also subscribe to the Stream Deck mobile app, can do around 64 buttons. Very cool. Are we very concerned about Apple raising prices? Terrible. So here's the thing. I will get an iPhone 17 Pro Max. They're already expensive. I think I paid $1,600 for them. If they go up to $1,800 for whatever, but first off, that's 4 or 5 months away. Things could have settled down by then. Things could have settled down. So hopefully they will have. I don't want to pay. Well, I'm glad I got my Mac Mini. It's going to last me for a couple of years. I don't want to pay any more than I have to, but Apple is a premium product. You are paying premium prices for it. Yes, we are concerned. We are concerned. Sport utility vehicle for Premiere. Sport utility. Okay, that could be. So you want me to take Avid out and put Premiere in there? Maybe I'll have to do that. Maybe I'll have to do that. People, I mean, I don't have anything against Premiere. That's what I learned on. I just have something against Adobe. Oh, you're saying only Final Cut and DaVinci Resolve exist as a one-time payment model. Logic Pro, Compressor, Motion, they're all one-time. They're all one-time. So you're talking about going towards subscription. When Final Cut Pro 10 came out, Final Cut Pro X came out, Apple made a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes. They acknowledge those now. It was embarrassing. It was clunky. It was a horrible, horrible turnout for Final Cut Pro 10. That would be nothing compared as if Final Cut Pro went to a subscription. There would be an atomic reaction to that amongst the editors. Now, if they offer a subscription alongside the ability to keep the perpetual license, that's different. If they have both, that's fine. I don't see them doing a subscription only version of Final Cut for a while. I don't think that's going to happen. Let me see what this says. Oh, they want to service my RAV4. I put 2,500 miles on my RAV4 a year. I don't need service for years at a time. Impressive home setup. Did you direct live TV? I was the post supervisor at the National Archives in Washington, D.C., and we put on around 100 live events in our theater every year. Part of that was we had film projectors, and we had a very sophisticated setup for doing video production and switching and stuff like that. I was always involved with any important live event because I was the main mixer. Everybody else was afraid of mixing. Oh, I don't want to be responsible. Well, I have 20 years of live mixing. I mixed bands, my own band, other bands. I had a recording studio. I had a live PA situation where I did mixing all the time. So it's second nature to me. But I would do live. As a matter of fact, I just pull up a picture. Let me pull this up. Here we go. I met incredible people at the National Archives. Let me just pull this up. So that's that. This is somebody that I met at the National Archives because he was there for an event. You know, it's incredible. But I met people all the time. I met Steven Spielberg. I met J.J. Walker. I met his dad on Good Times. John Amos, is that what was his name? Something Amos? Ken Burns was on the board of directors there, so I worked with him all the time. I met Caroline Kennedy. I met politicians and book authors. I met, let me think who I'm thinking. All kinds of people. But because I worked there, these are the kind of high-profile events. I did sound for presidents, and I did sound for Supreme Court justices. I'm talking about live sound. So I did all these fantastic things, and some of the times I would be doing. So I was used to doing switching. Anyway, that was your question. I totally agree with Final Cut Pro rollout being bad, but I think Randy wanted Steve Jobs to see it before Jobs passed, so it was released prematurely. No, Jobs, watch the documentary Off the Tracks, the Final Cut Pro 10 documentary Off the Tracks. It covers all of that stuff. I was the co-editor. I co-edited Off the Tracks with Bradley Olson. We went for a year or two editing that. Steve Jobs did not know about the rollout of Final Cut Pro 10. He didn't know, for example, that Final Cut Pro 7 was taken off the market the same day that they released Final Cut Pro 10. Why? You're trying to force people into Final Cut Pro 10? Final Cut Pro 7 and Final Cut Pro 10 were completely different apps. They're both NLEs. That was a boneheaded thing to do. Steve Jobs didn't know about it. And he made whoever was in charge, put Final Cut Pro 7 back on sale. I think Final Cut Pro 10 came out in June 21st, 2011. He made them put Final Cut Pro 7 available again, I think in September. He didn't know that was going to happen. So Steve Jobs wasn't doing well in those days. So some of the things. Here's what they should have done, in my opinion. They should have given us Final Cut Pro 7.1, an update to Final Cut Pro 7, 7.1, 7. Whatever. Give us that, and at the same time release Final Cut Pro 10 and say, hey, this is a brand new application. This is version 1. 10.0 is version 1 of this brand new application called Final Cut Pro X, Final Cut Pro 10. But give us whatever bug fixes you had for Final Cut Pro 7 at the same time. That's what they should have, done in my opinion. But that's water under the bridge. That's history. We all know about it. It was a horrible rollout. Adobe Premiere is an expensive subscription. That's what I don't like. I don't like Adobe part of that equation. Adobe as a company doesn't listen to their customers. If they listen to their customers, they would offer a subscription, or you can buy a perpetual license. That doesn't stop working. The idea that they hold you ransom for a monthly fee is ridiculous, and I hate that model. If Apple were to go subscription model and DaVinci Resolve stay one-time payment, that would not kill Final Cut Pro for many users. Apple will not. No, and our friend over there at Blackmagic has said no subscriptions. They said they're going to have to. They didn't say they're going to have to. They said they're probably going to be charging for some feature, for some version of a future version of DaVinci Resolve Studio. I'm just going to say, if you bought it in the last year, you get the free upgrade. If you bought it in the last 2 years, you get a free upgrade. But if you bought it before that, we're going to charge you $100, $50, $100, whatever it is. No problem. No problem. But they've said no subscription. The subscription model has been brought up at Final Cut Pro Creative Summits when we talk to the Final Cut Pro team. We have an in-person Q&A with the Final Cut Pro team, which is probably my favorite part of the Creative Summit. It's just fantastic. The last time they were so friendly, so open, so joking. And it was really excellent. The best summit I've ever been to was last year's. Hopefully that continues this year. The subscription's been brought up. Of course, they can't comment one way or the other, but every time subscription is mentioned, you can hear the audience groan. You can hear an audible groan from everybody in attendance. Don't even think about it. Don't even say those words in relation to Final Cut Pro. Final Cut Pro on the iPad, Final Cut on the iPad. We call it Final Cut Junior around here. It is a subscription model, but it's only $4.99 a month. It's only $5 a month. So, and it's simple. It's drop dead simple to start and stop this subscription. You can do it on your phone. If I wanted to try Final Cut Pro for a month, but I didn't want the subscription to continue, I would get this subscription. As soon as I got it and activated it, I would cancel the subscription on my phone so I wouldn't forget. It continues to run for the full month. At the end of the month, it does not auto-renew. Now, try to get out of a subscription to Adobe, any of their products before like the anniversary. Oh, they want to fine you. They want to put a fine on you and charge you a cancellation fee and all this nonsense, and then they charge you anyway. It's just, I've heard people with just horror stories trying to get out of an Adobe subscription. So Final Cut for iPad is simple. You can do it on your phone with a click of the button. Adobe getting out of one of their things, especially early, it's just a big mess. That's what I don't like. That's what I don't like. Look, if I had a job and I had to learn Adobe Premiere, I'd learn it. I'd relearn it. That's what I learned how to edit on was Adobe Premiere. So when I went down to the National Archives, they had Avid. They had an Avid system. They had just bought it, but nobody was running it because they didn't have an editor. So I went down there and I learned on the PC how to run it, how to use an Avid. I'm sure it's better now, but at that point their titler was horrible. Was absolutely horrible. Hopefully it's improved over the years. I don't know for a fact. But anyway, so between now, we have two events coming up. We have WWDC in June, which is May, June. A little over, about 2 months away, 60 days, WWDC. They have never released a new version of Final Cut Pro at WWDC. They have never done that. They've previewed a forthcoming version of Final Cut Pro at WWDC, when they had new hardware, like when the Mac Pro came out, they said this is a future version of Final Cut Pro that we're doing these tests on. So that came out later in the fall, but they've never released a version of Final Cut Pro at WWDC. What are we going to get this year? No idea. But that's the next big Apple event. But remember, they introduced a new version of Final Cut and Final Cut for the iPad in May. When it came out, it was in May. So they can do anything they want at any time they want. I guess my point is I'm expecting 11.1.1 as a bug fix anytime within the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. After that, I would hope that they give us another feature update, 11.1.2, couple of features. They could also do a feature update with 11.1.1, bug fix, couple of features combo. They could do that as well. And once again, the bug fix, I think, should be coming out within a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. That's just my guess, because there's bugs that need to be fixed. They could drop a couple features in that one, or they can save 11.1.2 for later in the year, August, September, whatever, with a couple of features and another improvements, bug fix. And then 11.2 will come out in November at the Creative Summit, probably. 11.2, Final Cut Pro 11.2 will come out in November around the Creative Summit, probably. Probably. But our friend Grant Petty over there said, no, they're not going to do a subscription. They don't like them. Nobody likes them. So I can't imagine Final Cut Pro on the Mac going subscription anytime soon. As an option, perhaps. Not as the only option. Not as the only option. Final Cut on iPad, it stopped working if you drop out, but just stay at the version without any update, of course. Now, it stops working, right? If you don't pay your $4.99, you can't use Final Cut on the iPad. It stops working on the iPad. But $4.99 a month is a far cry from whatever Adobe is charging. Far cry with their subscription model. So $4.99 a month, it's simple. It's brain dead simple. You want Final Cut on the iPad, pay $4.99 a month or $49 a year if you're going to keep using it for a year. I use LumaFusion, one-time payment. It works. They don't charge for any subscription. They have add-on packs that you also can buy for a one-time fee to keep supporting them and to keep improving them. They have a Final Cut Pro export add-on pack. They have a couple of other add-on packs that they have. I have all of them. Now, something else about, well, let me think about that a second. There are bugs. Final Cut Pro to crash a couple of days ago. Sent in the crash report as always, but couldn't describe how it triggered it. Oh, I have definitely had bug crashes on Final Cut Pro 11. And usually I'm thinking, okay, that's got to be a third-party plugin causing that. That's what it seems like to me. I don't think it's the media. I don't think it's the media. Let's see here. Let's go check on the cats. Let's go check on the cats. Here they are. In the cat room. In the cat room. There they are. Sleeping, sleeping. They love to sleep during the day. The first cat on the left is Lucinda. That's the first cat on the left, the orange cat. The cat further down is Miss Amanda Jones from the Rolling Stones song. Round and round she goes, little Miss Amanda Jones. Yeah, so I've had crashes. Absolutely, I've had crashes. I'm doing something. What? Whoa! Final cut. Now, usually it's. I don't know. I just presume it's. I just automatically presume it's third-party plugins that are causing the issue when it goes. But it could be Final Cut Pro itself. It certainly could be Final Cut Pro itself. So I'm going to show you. I start talking about my phone and audio. Okay. My main two, I have DJI Mic 2 for me, and I have front-facing cameras, talent-facing cameras. I have the MKE 400, Sennheiser, MKE 600. If they're further away, I want to walk around front, and I have options to raise and lower their volumes. But I've never been quite satisfied with not the quality of the audio. The quality of the audio is superb. But the MKE 600 really does best with the preamp on a mixing board and stuff. I don't have that. There's no preamp connecting into my phone. So I got a new microphone that I absolutely love working with this phone. And I have more than enough headroom and volume with this new microphone that I got. I've only had it for like less than a week. I love it. Quality is really good. It sounds like the MKE 600. But it has so much more. This is it. This is the Kamika VM40. The Kamika VM40, this is the shock mount for it. This thing, first off, it has a volume dial on the back. So I can turn it up and down physically with the volume dial. When this is up, I have plenty of headroom. Normally, I'll keep it about 5 or 6 with my DJI setup. It has its own receiver that you can put on a phone, but you can't really walk that far away from it. It's not as good as like the DJI Mic 2 setup. Let me tell you what else this thing has. It has its normal USB-C. You can plug it into the phone directly via USB-C. You can plug it into your Mac and use it as an audio device, USB-C. It has a analog audio out, so you can plug it into like an old phone where it has the analog audio in. It has a dial, like I said, a volume dial from 0 to 10. It has a low-pass filter and a enhance your high-end filter available right there. This part is incredible. It records internally. You can record audio internally to the microphone itself. 32-bit. You can record 32-bit internally in this microphone. It's incredible. The options that it has are stunning. Stunning. I got it. It was on sale. Looks like the MKE 600. I got it on, well, no, it was a flash sale one night. It's incredible. It has a fantastic big furry wind muffler outside. This one is for inside and, prevent popping. But the quality is superb. It sounds almost, it's just indistinguishable from the Sennheiser MKE 600. I have more than enough volume finally with this. It also has noise reduction. It has noise reduction on, noise reduction level 1, noise reduction level 2, or off. So 3 different levels of noise reduction. Incredible. Incredible. This thing is fantastic. I finally can get the level in front of the camera to the talent in front to match mine with the DJI Mic 2. I have more than enough. I got to turn it down a little bit. Now, there's a lot of things. This is incredible. This is incredible. It sounds great. It's made of metal, aluminum, whatever. The shock mount is very cool. It's very nice. You don't need, it's wirelessly. It wirelessly connects to your phone or to your computer or to your DSLR. It's wireless connectivity. Okay? It has a receiver that you connect to the DSLR or your phone. I use it with my DJI mic too, and I'm going to do a tutorial on how I do that. I forgot to mention that's wireless connectivity. It's incredible. It's $249 on Amazon. I got it for probably about $40 off, but it was a flash sale. I've been looking at it. And one night I went on Amazon, it said 15 minutes, it's a flash sale. So I bought it. I love it. It sounds really good if you're up close too. So you'll be seeing me using this all the time from now on. I'm going to do a few tutorials on it, which are forthcoming. Let's catch up on some of these. Would Apple offering Final Cut for iPad with an option for perpetual license at a price for this option? I would buy it if it gave us a perpetual license. I don't use it, but there's a lot of plugins that I buy that I don't use. I just support. If they gave us the option, suppose they said, okay, $49, you get updates for 2 years. But at the end of the 2 years, it continues to work at that level. You don't have to update it. Even if they say $49 for 1 year, but it continues to work. It's this stopping the work if you don't keep on paying that I don't like. But $4.99 a month, completely cool. That's a great, great price point. Love your cats is the first time that you show them. So here's the deal. I do a lot. I'm a big animal advocate. Okay. I do pro bono work, promotional work for 4 or 5 different animal rescues. I'm doing one this weekend. We have Friskies in Ellicott City, which is wildlife. They take care of wildlife. They don't take that cats and dogs. They take care of squirrels and foxes and baby deer, skunks and opossums and birds and all that stuff. They've been in business for forever. These are all nonprofits. Then also around here, we have Finally Home Animal Rescue, which is cats. They rescue, and they'll go into a kill shelter and pull out cats and rescue them and bring them up here and adopt them out. They take care of the shots, the spaying, the neutering, and all that stuff. And then there's the Humane Society of Carroll County, which is an incredible organization. They just opened up a surgical suite to do in-house spaying and neutering for the public as well as for their own animals. And then there's Maryland Horse Rescue, which has a blind herd. They have a blind herd. Horses that are blind. Who wants a blind horse? Well, normally they just put them down. Maryland Horse Rescue has a special herd that's only blind horses. So I love animals. I just absolutely am a big animal advocate. As far as cats, those two, no, we have 2 indoor cats right now, Lucy and Lucinda. And then we have 3, those are both females. We have 3 community cats outdoors that are males. Shadow, one we call Mr. Grumpy because he's always growling. And then Sammy, he loves the sunshine. He's an orange cat. I built a sunroom in the back of the side of my house for these cats for the wintertime. So it's a big sunroom. It's all glass, and it closes up, and I have heating pads, and I have a little heater, and I have a cat door so they can get in and out at night just for them, just for the cats. Those aren't our cats. They're community cats that go between the houses. They don't go out on the road or anything. We are cat lovers around here. Yes, absolutely. Those are the 2 indoors, and then we have the mini SD card. No, it's built in. It has built-in 32 gigabytes, I think, of memory. 32 gigabytes, maybe 64. It's built into the microphone. Whoever thought of this deserves an incredible raise. Nobody is doing this. Wireless connectivity, built-in memory, records 32-bit internal. It also records 24-bit, but I use 32-bit. A low-pass filter, an extended high-end filter for boosting the high end, 2 levels of noise reduction, off or level 1, level 2, a physical dial on here to raise and lower the volume. And you can connect it to your Mac, you can connect it to your phone, you can connect it to your DSLR, anything you want. You can hardwire connect it with an audio out, or hardwire connected with USB-C connection to your Mac, to your phone. You just pull WAV files off of it when you set it up that way. It's an incredible. 32-bit, yes. What is it again? It is a Kamika VM40. VM40. They have the VM20 and they have the VM30. The VM40 just came out. The Kamika, I'm not sure which Kamika, VM40, $249. Highly, highly recommended. Please put more info about it in your screen. Let me see here we go. Let me just do that for you. There's Dick Cavett. Let me just see here. Hold on one second. Here. This is it. This is the Kamika. You get the 2 different cables. Look at this furry up here, this fur thing. It's gigantic for outdoors. It's got the foam and the furry windscreen. You don't need the foam. You can put the furry on by itself. It's got a fantastic big case. It's got the 2 different cables for TRS and TRRS. It has a USB connectivity / charging cable. It has a mic stand. You can put it on a regular mic stand or a boom pole. And it has a bunch of adapters for that. 2 different levels of adapters for to go on the bottom of it. So let me just go back here. So this thing not only records, you can also record a safety track. You can record mono. It says stereo, but I'm not sure how that works, stereo, with the one microphone. I don't understand that. You can do 2 of these microphones into the receiver, but they have an option. They say mono safety track, which records one track 6 or 8 dB lower than the other. It's incredible. They thought of just about everything. Now, the only thing that I would say, and there's a lot of reviews on YouTube about it, it's not, the wireless transmission is not as dependable as like my DJI Mic 2 when you get 10 feet, 20 feet away. They say a couple things. You have to be direct line of sight. Okay. The other thing is the antenna is right in here. So you can't hold the microphone like this. It'll cut out. You have to hold it like that's why I have it on this stand. You have to hold it like this so the antenna can be facing the camera. So the wireless connectivity is not optimal. Short distance in the same room, not a problem. If you're going to be 100 foot away, which I never am, it's a little iffy. This thing has everything. I don't know who thought of this, why other manufacturers haven't done this. Incredible. Highly recommended so far. So far, it is, the quality is superb. It's really nice. It's just an excellent microphone for me, for using my iPhone for live recording, live streaming. So this has 2 levels too. It has a safety track. 2 levels are great, but your mic is incredible and wins big time. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Do you know if mini jack to XLR adapter twists because my XD cam have only XLR inputs for external? XD cam, XDR. Well, you have two options. You would have to go with analog out here to XLR, analog out to XLR, or the receiver. The receiver has an audio out too. Neither one of them have XLR, not for wireless, not for these guys for wireless. So, that's interesting. I think you only have actually XLR. I have an adapter for my Lumix S5 Mark IIX, the audio adapter that takes XLR inputs. I'll be recording a band in Baltimore in May, and I usually use two SM57s, SM57s for when I record bands that are very versatile, and I use the XLR inputs. So, incredible microphone. There's a dozen or more people that have already reviewed it on YouTube. And the good thing is, when you buy it on Amazon, you could return it if it doesn't suit you. But they become a lot more strict about things have to be in good shape. You can't return something that's all bent up or scratched, or you got to have the manuals, you got to have the original box, the packing and all that, and it has to be in pristine condition, or they won't accept it back, or you get docked for something. So I figured, I've been looking at this, I have it bookmarked, and I just checked it one night. They had a sale for, I think it was $211 instead of $249, something like that. So I just bought it. And I wanted it for the volume, like I said, so I can turn the front-facing talent up a little more to match mine when I'm streaming live. If I'm doing post, it's not an issue. If I'm doing post, I can balance them, and I can use noise reduction, AI noise reduction, to get them fine. But when I'm streaming live, I don't have that option. Now, with this microphone, I wouldn't recommend a level 2 noise reduction. That's a little bit too much. Level 1, I'll probably use, because it does give you a little bit more cleaner audio with plenty of volume. But I can boost this volume. I'm going to do some tutorials, and I might do a live stream or two on my channel to test this. So I really like the microphone, but there's a dozen or more people have done how-to tutorials and reviews of this microphone, probably 2 dozen. So you can go on YouTube and see them. Very curious to use this mic. Yes, like I said, if you buy it from Amazon, you can. If you don't like it, you can return it, but it's got to be in pristine condition. It's got to be in pristine condition. But that's why I like buying from Amazon. It's one of the reasons. It sounds. Somebody on YouTube did a comparison with the Sennheiser MKE600 and this one, and I had headphones on, and you virtually can't tell the difference. So it sounds like the MKE600. A lot louder. I mean, the MK600, I've used it with an XLR to 1/8-inch jack. I put a battery in it, and it works pretty good, but it's just not quite loud enough. It doesn't match my DJI Mic 2. So I've been saying, I use the MKE 400 a lot of times if I'm just walking around. I'm not really that concerned about it. It has 3 levels. That's pretty good. But this one's better, by far better. I've only had it for less than a week, and I'm ecstatic so far. It's really good. So there, I wanted to bring that out today. This is something you learned. I learned about Motion Blur plugin, and now you've learned about this new microphone. Would be amazed to see what your typical run and gun shooting kit way is versus camp gunner run and gun kit. It's actually, let me go get it and I'll show you. It's actually the same setup I use for run and gun. I'll be right back. In the meantime, watch the birds. All right. So if anybody knows me, they know that I love the InstaFlow Pro 2 gimbal. It's fantastic. This is what I do when I do run and gun. This is a little charging cable. I had the one. I never got the Pro. I got the one. But this is what I do. So I put this up here. I'm not going to do the well, I can do here. I'll do the Boya mic to imitate. Usually I do the DJI mic 2. So that would be that. Turn this thing on. So that would be the mic going in. So this is, I can adjust this rotation with a dial, get it balanced out. But here's what I would be doing. So this is my setup. I have a GoPro over here, and I have all these quick releases. So the quick release. I can adjust the GoPro left and right, up and down. Of course, the Insta360, I can turn it left or I can turn it right. And let me just take that down a little bit. There you go. And sometimes I might have a iPhone here instead of my GoPro, but the same setup works for my Lumix S5 Mark IIX. All this is gone, and the Lumix S5 Mark IIX goes on there. Here's the mic. The mic goes right here. Now, I have it on a ball head, so I can get it out of the way, the gimbal all the way. And it just goes right here. I'm gonna point it down, so usually I point it up, but it goes right there. So this is the setup. And this is all on a monopod, on the iSteady something monopod. So I have the GoPro filming a wide shot constantly, 4K in log. This microphone is going into my iPhone wirelessly via normally the DJI. Today I have the Boya mic, wirelessly going into there. It's recording 32-bit audio internally. And each of my transmitters also records 32-bit audio internally. So I have 3 copies of 32-bit audio with this setup, plus what's going into the iPhone, which is, I guess that's 24-bit. I can't remember. But I have 3 independent copies of 32-bit audio, 32-bit. Each transmitter that I use, these are only 24-bit, but normally this would be my DJI Mic 2. These record 32-bit. This microphone records 32-bit. That's 3 separate channels of 32-bit audio, plus what's going into the phone. So that's my setup. And it's very mobile. It's on a monopod. I can carry it everywhere. This is, a more extensive setup. I'll do some tutorials for it, but I wanted to show you, since you're all interested. Love the VM40. This is Kamika or Kamika. I love them. It's just fantastic. So that's the deal. And I love the DJI. I love the Insta360 Flow 2 Pro, as they call it. I put that over here. Put that over here. That can be in the shot a little bit for the time being. There you go. There, set it up there. There, that can stay in the shot. I don't care. So that's it. That's my setup. That is my setup from when I'm live. What is your transport case for them to protect them? So I pack everything up. The DJI, I mean, I keep calling it a DJI. It's not a DJI. This, see, everything is quick connect. I have everything quick connected. Absolutely. And this packs up Very small. This is the Insta360. This is how big it is. I can fit it in my pocket. Fits in my pocket. You know, it depends on what I'm doing. The microphone has it. I keep that protected. The GoPro, I keep everything protected. But I just have it in a normal book bag or something. I keep them all protected though. So, and then my phones, of course. And the DJI, I mean, the Insta360 has a little charge cable. I can actually charge my phone from the gimbal itself if the phone was running low. They have these little cables for that. So I've been ecstatic about it. I just absolutely love that microphone. This one. I'm going to pull that off. This one. See, everything's quick connect. Ulanzi quick connect. Everything quick connect. This is the quick connect. Everything is quick connected. That's just the way. I probably have 24 of those different places. So we can pull this out now. Don't have to be here anymore. And I got the DJI Action 5, which I absolutely love. Shoots 4K and log. So, what else do we have? Let me see. Let's go see what those cats are doing. Let's go see what those cats are doing. They're in there somewhere. This is the front cat room. They are spoiled little creatures, as they should be. These are both rescues. These are both rescue cats. Let me see here a second. I'm going to do this. That. There we go. Still sleeping. Yeah, there we go. Everyone's moving around a little bit. One is moving around a little bit. They join us in the bedroom sometimes. They jump on the bed when we're watching TV or when we're sleeping. They will certainly jump on the bed if they're hungry. That's what they let me know, that they're hungry. They will jump on the bed and let me know. They sleep during the day for the most part. I mean, they're up a little bit. They don't come up that much. I feed it. Here's when I get up in the morning. Put on coffee. If it's the winter time, I start this wood burning stove, get it heated up, put on the coffee, and then feed those two. Sometimes they get up and they get hungry in the middle of the night, and I'll get up and feed them. It depends. So, any more Final Cut Pro stuff going on? What kind of food do we feed them? We feed them wet food, canned food, and some dry food. Mostly we feed them wet food. We have canned Fancy Feast or different flavors, whatever. You know, cats are, if you ever heard it before, cats are finicky. And one day they'll eat this kind of food, the next day they don't want it. So, which is okay. It's part of their personality. My boy stares at me when he wants fresh food. Absolutely. Ours will come around and meow, the two indoor cats. They'll come around and meow. They both have little tiny meows. I mean, it's very, very quiet. Or if it's nighttime, they'll jump up on the bed to wake us up and let us know, hey, It's time for feeding of the cats, the feeding of the cats ritual. We like cats. When we both worked, my partner and I, Jane and I worked, we'd be gone for 12 hours a day. So you really can't have a dog in that situation because they got to go outside. Cats, no problem. They take care of themselves. They sleep, use litter box, have food and water for them. Cats are much easier when you're away for like 12 hours a day. Because I used to work in D.C. at the National Archives, and it'd be 8-hour day plus a 2.5-hour commute. I'd be gone for like 11 to 12 hours at a time. Just the way it was. I don't do that anymore. I don't want to work in D.C. I don't want to drive like that anymore. It's bad for your back, bad for everything. All right. So over the next 6 months, 7 months between now and November, look, I will know about the Creative Summit if it's going to happen perhaps in May. I would say perhaps in May. What the heck? Let's skip that. Perhaps in May. I can't say anything until I get permission from FMC or they make the actual announcement. Sometimes they'll let me say it's okay to say there's going to be a Creative Summit. Sometimes. But not specifics. So as soon as I find out and I can say something, I will. But I don't expect, they're just decompressing from NAB. They had the big sessions over at NAB. My run and gun case is big because my Sony XD Cam handheld is big. Absolutely. But when run and gun, I have different ways to, if I'm taking my Lumix S5 Mark IIX, it's different than if I take my cameras and my Action 5. Usually I take both of those together. But anyway, I expect I'll probably hear something in May about the Creative Summit. And as soon as I can share something with you, I will, if there's going to be one. I haven't heard that there's going to be one, but if there's going to be one, next up is WWDC in June. Final Cut for iPad came out in May with the new version of Final Cut with a 10.7 or 10.8, 10, I forget what it was, 10.7, came out in May. So between now and May, we could see an update, we could see a bug fix, we could see whatever. We'll have to wait. We have to change our lady cat food always. Same with us. The 1 week they'll like this flavor, next week they turn their nose up at it. So they're finicky, and that's part of their personality. We love our animals. We love our cats. I got to do a promo video this weekend for the local wildlife rehabilitator. All right. Anything else? Oh, you know what? So I'm a big fan of Severance, Apple TV's Severance. Season 2 just came out. And I didn't watch it yet, and I avoided spoilers. So I said, let me go back and watch season 1 before I go to season 2. I'm so glad I did. But I put on Twitter, I said, I'm rewatching season 1 of Severance before I go to season 2 on Apple TV Plus. And I said, what the blankety blank am I watching? Because I forgot all the stuff that went on in season 1, all the shenanigans and all the weird things that they did season 1. So I haven't even finished season 1 yet, and then I'll go into season 2. You're welcome. Creative Summit, what would be your biggest surprise or winning new feature? Well, I've said this, text-based editing and an audio mixer would be my 2 big ticket items. But there's dozens and dozens and dozens of small things. Expanding a compound clip directly in place in the timeline. Adding colors. The ability to color code folders in the browser. Color code clips in the timeline, and sort by colors. LumaFusion, DaVinci Resolve. You can color code clips and Logic Pro too. You can color code your clips in Logic Pro. And you can sort. So you can go in your search field in the browser and just put in red. And all the clips that are color-coded red will come up. You can go and search for blue. And all the clips that are color-coded blue will arrive for the search field. There's dozens of things like that. I'd love to see that. Love to see your side that loves pets. Absolutely. I love all animals. I'm a big, big animal advocate. Keep this coming. Absolutely. I do promotional videos for animals, local animal rescues all the time. So it's one of my passions in life. I just did the Humane Society of Carroll County just had they have two things coming up. They have a yard sale that I'll be streaming live, and they had a kitten shower, which is like a baby shower for cats, where people adopt cats, people bring gifts for cats, people give cash donations for kittens and cats. So just did that. Severance, the Twin Peaks of the 2020s. This funny you said that, Ben, because you can definitely see David Lynch influence in Severance. They're very original. Ben Stiller, where did this come from? He's the executive director or something, or writer. Phenomenal. I haven't even got to season 2 yet. It's a great series if you like that kind of stuff. I still can't quite. I forgot everything. I forgot almost everything from season 1. It's been a couple years since I saw it. I wanted to rewatch it before I started season 2, so I'll be starting season 2 now. Yes, Twin Peaks of the 2020s, absolutely. I agree with that. All right, everyone. So as far as Final Cut Pro stuff, maybe they'll do a preview of a new version of Final Cut at WWDC. They won't release it at WWDC. They very seldom would. They've never released a version of Final Cut at WWDC. They've previewed a version that's coming out later in the year, like when the 2019 Mac Pro came out. The cats are mostly independent, very different than dogs who can't survive alone. Right, well, they can survive, just your house would be a mess. It would be a mess. I have a local TV show about dogs. I'm a trainer in my retirement, and I interview and promote many local shelters. Good work, Richard. Good work to you too, Ben. Thank you for doing that. I know you're a dog lover. Love to see Between Mountains in Apple TV. Is that a TV show, Between Mountains? Is that the TV show you're talking about? I'm waiting for the new version of Slow Horses is supposed to come out in August. So I like that show as well. All right. Anything else going on in the world of Final Cut Pro or microphones or hard drives? These little hard drives are my travel hard drives. I love these. These little teeny things. This is the X9, the Crucial X9. This thing is tiny. Look, 4 terabytes. This is 4 terabytes, and it's pretty fast. Yeah, this is 4 terabytes. It's pretty fast. I take these when I travel with my MacBook Pro, which I'm going to be doing in a couple of days. I'm going to be traveling. Nothing Final Cut Pro related, just family related. Between Mountains. Oh, that's a movie. Twin Peaks Between Mountains. Oh. Okay. Well, you made a recommendation. Now I'll watch that. Absolutely. I'm looking for a portable video monitor for use with A10 Mini Pro, small, easy to travel with. Any suggestions? No, I don't have any suggestions. When I travel, like when I go to the Creative Summit, I'll take my 2021 MacBook Pro, M1 Max MacBook Pro, and I'll take my iPad Pro, the 2024 iPad Pro that I just bought, as my monitor, as my extended desktop. So I have 2 screens, because trying to live stream from Ecamm Live with 1 screen is really difficult. Looking for storage solutions. So For portability and smallness, I use these. This is a 4 terabyte. I have 2 of these, but I also have, that's USB-C. I also have, this is a true Thunderbolt. And it's very fast. It's something I put together years ago. This is 2 terabyte. And I have the OWC 5 terabyte, which is also very fast. So you can edit off those, but I have 2 of them. So if I'm doing anything important, I'll make copies to both. And then my MacBook Pro, I'm not sure, is it a 4 terabyte or I think it's a 4 terabyte. Let me just check something. My MacBook Pro, Sequoia. Oh, that's my Mac Mini. Oh, I think my MacBook Pro is 4 terabyte. So I have 4 terabyte in my MacBook Pro, and I carry 2 4 terabyte Crucial X9s, and I back everything up to both of those. And I leave it on my MacBook Pro, and I leave it on my iPhone or my Lumix S5 Mark IIX until I get home. I don't erase anything until I get home, so that's what I typically do. I wish iPad would take an HDMI input. You can't get an adapter, HDMI out to USB-C in. That's true. Yeah, I don't want a NAS. I don't like NASs either. I've heard there's too many people I know that had them online and they got hacked through their NASs. I have a 64 terabyte RAID 5 spinning hard drives. Firewire, Thunderbolt 4 connected. Thunderbolt 4 connected. That's my main RAID, but I have other RAIDs too. But I have Direct Connect 4 terabytes. For massive storage, HDD still need. I back up everything. I have a whole shelf full of these. 8 terabytes USB-C, and I keep their name on here. And I have them over here to the side and over there. I probably have 36 of these over the years. So that's one of my backups, but I also have LTO9 tape drive system, and that is probably the best backup system that I have. LTO9, I have those sorted. These take 16 terabytes, 16 terabytes versus the drives that take 8 terabytes. So I trust these a lot. These are pretty good. I have a bunch of these LTO9, and then I back up to, I have 3 backups. The cloud, I have Backblaze. I have the 8 terabyte hard drives, which are physical, and I have the LTO tape. And then if I'm working on a project, it'll exist on my RAID 5 as well. That'll be my work. I can work directly off of there. So actually, it's like 4 different copies, not of everything, but of important media. 4 different copies at any given time. I mean, for archiving many terabytes, that would be my LTO tape system, LTO9 tape system. Each tape costs $90, but it's 16 terabytes. 16 terabytes for one tape for $90. So the 8 terabyte HDDs cost $150. This is $40 for the same amount of storage space. $40. As far as I know, iPad is HDMI output only. Okay. Very good. I've lost many data with HDDs. Likewise. That's why I have multiple backups. The HDDs aren't that expensive, and I literally have 36 to 40 to 50 of them around here. if I need something quick, I can edit off of it, or I can just transfer it to my RAID or local storage, depending on how big it is. But that's why LTO 9, it's not cheap. The drive itself is like $4,500 or something like that. Each tape is 16 terabytes, $90, and they're really good. But I don't depend on them either. Backblaze in the cloud, my RAID, 64 terabyte RAID 5, HDDs. I have half a dozen SDDs, and then the internal storage. How fast is Backblaze, your massive RAID? Does it take hours? Oh, it takes days. It only does, I think Backblaze does 250 gigabytes a day. So you just leave it plugged in for weeks and weeks, and it backs it up. Right, but that's just another option. It's just another option. That's all. It's another. I leave drives plugged in, and it backs everything up. I don't even worry about it. It just does it all automatically in the background. It's not the primary. It's just one of them, many. I've seen data loss on HDDs and SDD, no guarantee when a drive dies or doesn't. My 32 terabyte HDD promise, Pegasus has been running for 10 years under a single hiccup. Right, exactly, but you can't use the RAID as a backup because it's not a backup. I mean, you don't use it. That's not a backup. That's just something that you're working with. In my case, I have the same situation. I've been running mine for years, and it's been fine. I have an older Promise, an older G-Tech. They're fine, but they're hard drives, and they will go bad at some point. The most secure backup is the LTO 9 tapes, I think. For restoration, does Backblaze ship you a drive with the data? You can download individual files or data doesn't cost anything, but it's slow. So if you're doing a lot of data, no. Backblaze will ship you an 8 terabyte drive with your data you got to pay $150 as a deposit. When they get the drive back, they credit you the full amount back. Great deal. So if I had an 8 terabyte or 16 terabyte and it got to be divided up, I'd say, here, send me these drives on 8 terabyte drives. Here's the deposit. When you get the drive, you download it to your local system, you get your 100% of your deposit back. Yes, absolutely, Ben. Back up for the RAID 2, absolutely. Got to run. Work day for me. Happy Easter, Richard. Yeah, I forgot. Happy Easter, everybody. Absolutely. Absolutely. The danger of SSD is data recovery is more like a dead end in the case of death. I understand, but that's why I never start an important project without 3 copies of my data on 3 separate mediums. Sometimes 4. I won't start any important project. Plus, like I said, when I go to the Creative Summit, I got 1 terabyte drive here, plus additional drives. I don't erase it from here. I make 2 backup copies on my Crucial X9s, which are 4 terabyte. I keep a copy. Happy Easter, everybody. Absolutely. Thank you. Easter tomorrow. Fantastic. I'm going to get out of here. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Final Cut Pro team. Thank you. Don't stop working. Keep getting us the next update. Final Cut Pro is not going to ever catch up to DaVinci Resolve in the amount of features. Nobody is. Nobody's going to catch up to DaVinci Resolve. They are way far ahead as far as features go. And they have the color panel, they have the edit page, they have the export panel, they have the fusion page, they have Fairlight page. Nobody does it that as good as DaVinci Resolve. So, thank you. Don't forget to subscribe and like over there at our YouTube channel. Richard Taylor TV, and our Facebook panel. Don't forget to subscribe and like over there. The more we have, the better we like it. Tell your friends, Final Cut Pro friends, we talk about more than just Final Cut Pro. Thank you very much. We talk about more than just Final Cut Pro. We talked about microphones today. We talked about my mobile setup, but Final Cut is the impetus for me to do this. I'll be watching the first 15 minutes next. Got here late. Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I am going to be, let me see what we got. One more comment here. We'll wait for it. I can see it on my screen down here before it shows up. Do you archive in H.264 and H.265? Yes, that's usually what I shoot in, so I'll archive in that. The only difference is the film that I've shown multiple times, that's archived in ProRes HQ, because when I export it, it's a ProRes HQ file, which is what they want for the digital cinema, making a digital cinema package. So that export is ProRes HQ. If I use an exported file as an archive, I'll do it in ProRes. Takes care of everything. I will say goodbye to both Lucy and Miss Amanda Jones for you, Alexandra. I absolutely will. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Every Saturday we're here, usually at 10 o'clock. If anything breaks during the week, I'll be live on my YouTube channel. I'm going to probably do some tutorials on that new microphone that I have. I'll be doing some tests outside and stuff. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. See you next time. You're the best.